Welcome back everyone, and today I'm headed to an abandoned orchard. Now let me give you a little history before we head to this place. This orchard we're looking at was purchased by the National Wildlife Refuge around the 1990s, the early 1990s. And when the National Wildlife Refuge purchased this orchard, they had plans to turn it into, obviously a National Wildlife Refuge, bring back a lot of the native plants and animals and whatnot. And what you're looking at right now all used to be orchards, walnut and almond orchards. Now it's just all overgrown with native plants to the California area. Mostly native, some of it's not. Obviously these blackberry bushes aren't native. Interesting place, with some unique history. This all used to be orchards, and as we go this way we're going to find a abandoned house, and I don't know what else. I don't have this trip exactly planned, but we should see quite a bit. It is heavily wooded, but should be interesting. So yeah, they purchased this land in the early 1990s, and basically they decided not to cut down any of the orchard trees that are that way for some reason. Around this area there's obviously no orchards, but as we keep going you're going to see these crazy overgrown black walnut trees. And it's really interesting to see that because it's as if someone had an orchard and they just left. Didn't do anything, didn't care for the plants or anything, and they just grown out of control. And that's basically what this place is. They didn't cut down the trees or anything, so you're going to see some black walnut trees. Some real interesting stuff. So let's get into it and check this place out. Okay, we're now coming up to an abandoned house. This house was probably where the farmers lived, the people who owned these orchards. Currently everything we're around, this was all black walnut trees. And after we look at this house, I'm going to keep going that way, and I'm going to show you some black walnut trees that just grown way out of control, like larger black walnut trees than I've ever seen. In fact, we could see some in the distance right now, because I'm used to seeing the ones, where they're maintained and they're in orchards and whatnot like that. Growing up in a farming community, I've seen a lot of trees like that, but I've never seen any that have grown way out of control like these ones. So it's really eerie and neat to see this. Let's check this house out. It looks really neat. Don't know how good of condition it's going to be, and it looks like there's quite a bit of graffiti, so that means it's probably vandalized. There's always blackberry bushes I have to go over. It's really not in too bad of condition. I shouldn't say not in bad condition, but it's still standing. Let's put it that way. The main entrance, you could see. And on the side of it, looks like they had a porch right here. That was likely a porch from what I could see anyway. Looks like one. You can see how it comes out, and you have those foundational supports on it. Another one right here. And there's this tree right next to it that's absolutely massive tree. Like, let me zoom up. Like, just look at that. That's probably here when they owned this house. It's obviously too big of a tree to have grown by itself since this place was abandoned. So I'm just imagining when this place was still lived in, this was probably a tiny tree they decided to grow and thought it would look nice next to the house, provide some shade, and now it's still with the house, but it's just way overgrown. It's really neat to see that. Just imagine what this must have looked like. And so I probably took the time to plant this tree, which still neat to see it, still alive and growing healthy. at no risk of getting cut down too, since it's in a wildlife refuge. Some really neat wood too. I like how it's just buckling out like that. That looks really cool. So let's go inside. This looks real spooky. Let's see. And the wood's a little rotten. I could feel it just crumbling underneath my feet a little bit. That whole wall's been removed. Someone's probably vandalized it. If I kicked the walls in, people like to do that. So this looks like it was the kitchen, all this area. Yeah. I could see where the ventilation must have been. I don't know how old this house is. Maybe it was a furnace. Does it go through the entire roof? Yeah. Definitely a furnace. You can see the metal piping. So that's probably how they heated this house. I can't tell you how old this house is. I didn't get any information on the house. I just got information on the general property. But maybe someone else could do a good job of identifying its age based on its design and layout. You can see the piping that would have been used for the kitchen sink. That's all gone now. And then that would have been their view right out their front window. It's crazy to think this house is just surrounded by tons of trees. You can't even drive to this spot. Obviously, you know, it's not allowed, but even if you tried, it's so overgrown. So it's crazy to think at one time this house was accessible. You know, obviously people were living in it. There was orchards around. It wasn't overgrown like this. It's like post-apocalyptic. It is apocalyptic. And you have this door was a very wide one. This may have been the family room, the living room, whatever you like to call it. You could see even more graffiti on the walls, unfortunately. Okay, so this is definitely going to date back this place. Look at that carpeting. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's shag carpeting. You can see a walnut. Confirms this was a walnut orchard. But yeah, that outdated carpeting. So we know it's at least the 1870s house. That's my best guess. 2 windows on this side, so this was the living room, likely going right into this room. With just a bunch of trash on the floor. And I'm surprised with how rough this place is. And you know this is Vandals who ruined it and not natural decay, because notice how good of condition this roof is. Notice how none of it's really falling down. There's a couple areas that are in slight disrepair, but I'm going to show you some other rooms for confirmation that it's the entire house like this. Notice how these roofs are in relatively decent condition. That's how you know this isn't natural decay. This is just people coming and vandalizing. 2 windows on this side you could see. And looking out, you just see trees, plants, wildlife. And this was another way in. You could see this was the hallway, which a very wide hallway. Like, look at this. So that I'm thinking was probably a bedroom. That was probably a bedroom, living room, kitchen, or living room. I mean kitchen, dining room maybe. Actually, it looks a bit small for a living room. Probably a dining room. I don't know. You can let your imagination figure it out. That's what I'm doing. Then there's this room. This was Likely a bedroom. One window. Decent sized room, you know. Light socket would have been there. So, yeah, that was the room. Not much now. That light socket, actually, I've seen ones like that before. That definitely looks like an 80s light socket. I've seen houses built in the 80s that have those light sockets. The wood paneling on the walls. That's always a nice thing. And looking right, this looks like it was another bedroom. Even smaller bedroom. Maybe a bedroom, maybe a bathroom. This would have been a big bathroom though if it was. You can see some shelving right there. Floors aren't in that bad of condition too. Like, they look dirty, but if you actually look past that, that's wood flooring. That's not in that bad of condition. The walls are a weak point in this house. Yeah, confirmed this was probably a bathroom. Like, look, you got piping, some plumbing. Don't think they'd have plumbing in a bedroom unless it was a British bedroom where they do that. And as you can see right there, a toilet. So this was a bathroom. Then we got one more room to look at right there with some furniture and some emo person writing on the wall. Basically. Yeah, that's a big bathroom, but decent layout. I'm thinking this was the living room. So this is the right side of the living room. And then the left side we're looking at right now. See, yeah, decent condition with the roof. Well, the ceiling, not the roof. And then now we have an opportunity to look through the attic so we can see if the roof's in decent condition. Let's see. I'm gonna zoom in. So you're just looking at the attic. I don't know what's up there. I couldn't see the camera. I was just lifting it up. But yeah, that roof isn't in all that bad of condition. This is the type of place where it's real unfortunate to see, or when you see it's in bad condition, just because you know it wasn't natural. It was people who put it in bad condition and did that to it. Put big old holes in the walls. Now that is, guess I stand corrected. The rest of this house had good flooring, but this is definitely not good. Look at that. Looking right through into the basement, where a bunch of people left spray paint cans. That wood flooring really is nice though. That'd probably cost a pretty penny if you were to put that in a modern house. So, yeah. This is the abandoned house on a National Wildlife Refuge. You can see a chair right there, recliner. Let's go out of this house and look at the exterior now. This was the back of the house, or this was the living room. This was actually the front. The attic up there. So that's the main or back door, who knows. It's interesting to see that that was probably a window for the attic, although I didn't see any way to get up to the attic except for if you were to go up a ladder, so it was probably not a room or it wasn't furnished or anything. Let's look at the sides of it. This is the left side of the house. It's not in too bad of condition. Some rotten wood, but you know. This place probably has another 20 years to stand before it starts falling apart. Window frame, coincidentally right below the window, the living room window. Very neat house. Also here's something over there. I don't know if it's a person or animal. Hopefully an animal. Although I'm going to come back to this house and look around it to see if there's any other ruins. Although before we do that, there's something else I want to show you guys. It's right down this path. This is going to give you a great opportunity to see the old trees that were once on the orchard and now they're just overgrown and unmaintained. Which is probably how these walnut trees prefer it. Otherwise they would have been cut down by now. Since obviously when they get old they don't produce as many walnuts. Not as profitable. Just check this walnut tree out. A big old trunk right there. Probably worth a lot of money. That wood. Some moss growing on it, and then as you go up, look at the size of that thing. It's a really neat tree. Back at the house, and I'm now going to go around it and keep looking. You can see another walnut tree. This one isn't quite as big. What's crazy to think about, these were all once row trees that all grew in an orchard and were maintained. But it's really neat to see that the wildlife refuge didn't just cut them down to only grow back native plants. It's a really neat shot right there. So I'm now going to look around and see if there's any other ruins, anything else of interest. And there's some stinging nettle And what's that itching one? The poison ivy all over this place too. Luckily I'm wearing pants, so shouldn't get any on me, but we'll see. I've actually never been hit by poison ivy yet, despite all the places I've gone that were infested with it. This area just opens up to a little meadow, although I don't see any other ruins. Some neat trees though. So I think that's the highlight of today's video. I don't think there's anything else to film. But this place is so thickly wooded that even if there was, it's so difficult to find. And obviously you can't just go on something like satellite maps and look, just because all these trees cover everything. I actually didn't know about this house. You can't see it on satellite maps. Someone told me about it. That's how I got this location. It's really neat though. I'd say it was definitely worth the trip. I'm happy I came all the way out here to check it out. So that's it. Do want to say thank you for watching. I do hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to subscribe and check out my other videos. And I don't know if you noticed, but I do have some new video equipment, a stabilizer, new camera, and microphone. So some brand new videos, and every video is going to have this great new quality. I'm just going to have to get used to the stabilizer, as I am a little new with it, so it might appear as a little wonky and moving all wrong ways, just because I don't got a great handle of it yet, although practice makes perfect. So thank you for watching. Check out my other videos, and I think I'm gonna get going.